Welcome to my corner, where we deal with everything from politics to pop culture. Now, this is the show where we break down the most significant testimony and developments from the Madlanga Commission. Now, today we focus on Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, whose testimony may be the most consequential because the general brought receipts, like he heard all the discourse prior to this testimony. Now, General Khumalo structured his testimony almost like a layered argument, carefully building credibility, showing effectiveness, and then revealing the most sensitive political and criminal links. Now, let's start at the beginning. He framed the Political Killings Task Team, or the PKTT, as a legitimate, nationally mandated body, not some politically expedient creation. The patient build-up through mentioning of the task team's initial growing pains to it expanding in scope and influence was really engrossing to listen to. He went into incredible detail talking about the numbers that were to become a point of contention between him and the commissioners. What he emphasized was the PKTT's measurable success, arrests, convictions, and crucially, according to me, deterrence. He highlighted that the mere presence of the task team acted as a preventative force. And this is something that isn't really covered in the media. I haven't heard anyone really talking about it because now potential perpetrators knew the PKTT was watching. In a country plagued by contract killings, this preventative um, impact is arguably as vital as the cases that they solved. Now, the commissioners pressed Khumalo hard on those solved cases versus those where perpetrators were found to be not guilty. They questioned whether the PKTT was truly effective according to those numbers, as those numbers that were not guilty were greater than those that they were found to be guilty and solved cases. But Khumalo leaned on those very numbers, clarifying that those found not guilty didn't necessarily mean that the cases were lost, because judging by the case solvency rate, more cases were solved or closed than those lost. Now, by grounding his testimony in statistics and operational results, he gave the Commission a concrete foundation to assess his claims. From there, Khumalo moved from institutional background into explosive revelations about the Big Five cartel. By the time he began naming names, he had already established operational credibility. The commission wasn't just hearing allegations, they were hearing someone with documented evidence and first hand insight. This is what should make the Evidence Brigade very happy since they tried to discredit Lieutenant General Nkwanzi after his testimony, even though he told them the likes of General Khumalo will come and present the evidence they were looking for. Now, the general identified Katiso Molefe and Vusi Matlala as part figures in the cartel of the Big Five. What remains unknown, though, are the identities of the other three. But the general made it known um, that they are known, at least to them, and for operational reasons, their names will not be released as yet. I believe this will be the part of his testimony that will be in camera for the commissioners to see. And it's totally understandable as parts of the story are still fluid. And it is also worth pondering whether Hangwani Maumela could be a major player in the syndicate because of the ties he has in the Tembisa Hospital saga and Vusi Matlala's involvement in that as well. Remember, from what we have seen, this syndicate could be a multidisciplinary team, for a lack of a better term, and they don't seem shy about diversifying the pie. He described their different functions, which are drug trafficking, cross border vehicle hijackings, tender fraud, and extortion. And crucially, he connected the cartel to political networks, alleging that payments flowed into circles linked to the police ministry and the ANC. And this was probably the most consequential part of his testimony. He posited links between the Big Five and the ANC and SAPS officials as well, and that he had evidence to back it up. Now, as the day drew to a close, it was quite evident, it was quite glaring that there was a lot more to be told. And judging by the WhatsApp portion of his testimony, tomorrow will be a very big day. But what made Khumalo's testimony so powerful wasn't just the evidence he presented, but how he presented it. The methodical sequencing, the layering of facts, and the deliberate pacing from legitimacy to effectiveness to cartel connections made this a very strong day for the general. But that's it for today's episode. And we'll continue tracking General Khumalo's testimony and the unfolding story of the PKTT and the Big Five cartel. The implications for policing and political accountability are enormous here, and we'll be here to unpack every development. Now, like, subscribe, comment, do what you will, but participate in the party. I'll see you guys after day 9. Cheers.